His old mate's just come back in from camping and he agrees we've got to make sure she's race ready straight out the drive. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, let's go, give it a go.
That'll be Buffalo Avenue Raceway. So I'm thinking about applying for a permit to the government to change Buffalo Avenue to Buffalo Raceway. Young Michael O'Brien's part of the network. He's on the job. Look at him go. Look at him go. We've got old Jace on the job. You getting a bit of a sweat up, Jace?
Yeah.
You look like you're starting to sweat.
Yeah.
Well, now that's on and secure and safe. Now the doctors can go to work. Well, it looks like this little project's about to get underway. So we're going to do the main drive belt that sits in behind here, obviously around the rear sprocket. It's snapped due to not being tight enough. These belts must be tight and super tight. Once you get them tight, you've got to move the axle back at least another millimetre once they're already tight. Put them under pressure. Extreme pressure. Otherwise, when you play up on these, wide open throttle and let the clutch go, it'll take off at the top, no worries, but the bottom one goes loose and they will jump the rear sprocket. And what happens is that the teeth that are on the belt will flex side to side. We've just had Margaret's father here, Al. G'day, Al. I know you're going to see this. Watching a bit of tennis. So the bike is set up in the shed and I've just been called in for sweet. So we're on what you would call smoko at the moment, Kurt and I, because Kurt's always out there keeping an eye on me. Ain't you, buddy? Hey? Have a look at him frothing. Someone loves these sweets as well, don't you, Mitta? Hey, you better get rid of that. I'm going to need another spoon.
I think so.
Thank you, darling. Anyway, we'll be back into it in a couple of minutes. Within 10 minutes, we'll be back out there. The compressor's on. The tools are there. I haven't started pulling it apart yet. But I'm going to time it from start to finish. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Maybe if you haven't done it before, with a little bit of advice and the right tools. So I'm going to start the clock and stop it when the bike's finished and back on on the stand on the ground because I have other jobs to do on it. But just to replace the belt alone, finished, ready to ride, I'm going to time it. Yeah, I'm trying to get some work done here and I'm clearly getting distracted. So we just got interrupted there. I'm just running through the project. So we're talking about the belt and the teeth. This is about an hour after what you just heard a second ago. So the teeth, when it jumps that rear sprocket, these teeth flex back and forth as they're skipping around. And once they've done it a few times, the inside the actual teeth start to break. They break down, and then eventually, when you least expect it and you fan the clutch with your belt not tight enough, it rips the teeth clean off. You'll see that on the belt once I get it all apart. I'll show you. And if you're wondering how I'm doing most of the filming, there it is. There's the tripod. The phone sits in there. And it's just sitting on rags on the milk crate to get the height right so that you can see over the top of this foot peg here. But anyway, I'm about to set that up. We're about to start on the tools. All right, let's get into it. So there should be about 700 mils of oil in here. You got the clutch, the drive chain, compensators in behind that gear, and you've got all the slack adjuster and everything here. So this chain, I've spoken in other videos I've done on that bike there a few weeks ago, the chain needs to be quite tight and obviously fully adjusted. There's a socket that is a single hex versus a double hex, just so you know. So we'll get this chain adjuster off, tensioner. I'm going to undo the compensator with a high-powered 3/4 drive rattle gun, electric rattle gun. Then we'll work out how we're going to get the clutch off, and they all come off together. So within about 20 minutes, it'll all be off. I've got to go around and undo the starter motor through there, get rid of that, make sure the electrics aren't going to short out, otherwise I need to take the seat off, disconnect the battery. I'll have a good look at that. All that off, then I can loosen all the inner primary, and then you'll see the inside where the belt goes. We'll drop the swing arm section out of it. We will get the back wheel out of it and slide the new belt in, and then it's all going back together. It's about a 4.5 hour job if you look at workshop manuals. There it is. That's the teeth locking mechanism that I was talking about there. You can see it in there, right there. That's how it all locks together when you do the bolts up. So once again, there's the sockets, single hex on this side, double hex. So some of you would have experienced in the past with the single hex, it slips on the bolt a lot easier if it's not exactly right or if there's wear or whatever. With the single hex socket, you've got twice as much grip, less chance to slip. So if you're undoing anything that's really tight, try and use single hex sockets. This is just your normal 1/2-inch drive air operated rattle gun. It's an oldie, but it works perfect. That's your little button there for forward and reverse. You just heard that compressor kick in. If the compressor kicks in, you always wait until it's fully loaded and you'll get maximum pressure on your rattle gun. One compensator bolt off. Now we're going to get the clutch pack undone, slide the front and rear gear chain all off together. I'm just knocking out the little circlip here. The ideal way to do it is with internal circlip pliers. I can't find them, so like usual, bush mechanic skills, you compromise, you get it done. As long as you don't damage, bend or scar any of the metal, if you can do it without doing any of that, I'll do it. But you just got to be careful. When you compromise, you just got to be careful. There she is. One circlip. That shaft there goes right through to the other side to a little pivot system on 3 ball bearings that when you pull on the clutch lever, it rolls up on the ball bearings, which pushes that shaft through to release your clutch pack. And then you can change gears. So that's the circlip that holds it all together. In behind there is a big bolt. You'll see that in a second. There's the main shaft right there. That goes right through to the other side to operate your clutch. So I love making myself a jigsaw puzzle here. It's a great brain tease for when you're putting it back together. It keeps you on your toes. So there's the big bolt in there. You'll see that all come out in a sec. Once that bolt's off, I had to put the chain adjuster back on to marry them all up so I could get this one off. The rattle gun wouldn't do it to start with, so I had to put a ring open ender on there, smack it with the hammer to jar it or unjar it. And it's all about to fall off together. And then it's just a matter of undoing about six or seven bolts in the starter motor, and she's bare, ready for the new belt to go on. This one in here is left-hand thread, and it's 30 mil, single hex socket, 30 millimeters left-hand thread. That one in the crankshaft is normal thread. So this mechanism now should all slide off together as one, and then we'll tackle all the bolts inside the inner primary, undo starter motor, and we're getting somewhere. So we'll sit this thing carefully out of the way and keep it clean. That's right to reassemble. You don't have to do anything to the clutch. It's the back of it. So that compensator hub that's there, you can see that the rub marks on here. What it does is when you change gears, it allows a little bit of slip instead of just being direct drive straight into the next gear. This here actually allows it to compensate with a little bit of forgiveness in between the gears, and it's not so hard on the gear shifts. So that can stay there. Now it's going to undo all these bolts. Starter motor will all fall off. You'll see where the belt runs around there. Righto, starter motor's undone. It's time to buzz the inner primary off. Oh, you can see the mess in behind there, all up in there, of the result of one very hot stripped belt. So just got to check all these bearings and seals and all that sort of stuff and get it done. Now we're going to drop the rear axle out of it and get the wheel ready to drop out, because I want to drop the wheel back about a foot, get the old belt out, put the new belt in, and then bring the wheel back in. In the meantime, I've got to drop the swing arm shaft out and drop this little spacer out here, the main bolt and the spacer, so the belt can come through there and go around the main drive hub. So the shaft's right out now, the main shaft, rear wheel shaft. The back wheel's just sitting there, it's just touching the ground. And slide this belt out. And now all we've got to do is take this frame insert out here. That's the main shaft that the swing arm pivots on. We'll get a socket onto that, one that fits, and we'll rattle that off, slide that out. Bob's your uncle. We're nearly halfway there. So what's happened now is the bracket I've just dropped off the back of the exhaust is not enough. It's only lowered at about 1/2 inch. It needs to go down probably over 1 inch. So I've got to undo the 2 studs where they both go into the heads, just loosen them, and then it'll lower enough. The exhaust and the bracket will lower enough for this shaft to come out. So instead of dropping the whole swing arm out, you just take that main swing arm shaft out like 1/3 of the way, and then the spacer falls out, so you can get your belt in and out and get the new one through. So you can see there's a shoulder on this side. It's how it locates up against the main housing of the gearbox. It's important that it goes back in the right way for stability. So there's the old belt hanging out. I'm going to slide the back wheel out, get rid of the old one, sit the new one in there, and then reverse that process and reverse the entire process with new seals, new oil, new gaskets, and a brand new belt. This man is one lucky man. There's the new belt, wheel out, old one, new one, back together. And as you can see, old mate's on the job. As long as I can hear him breathing, mate, what a comfort he is. Amazing. French Bulldogs are amazing. Any dog's amazing. The Frenchies are very special. Just got to open the brake pads a little bit so it glides out and glides back in. It's just a matter of putting a pry bar in there and moving the brake piston back in a little bit. The slides will equalise, and the main disc will slide in and out of that caliper really easy. Both spacers need to come out each side. Always view left and right. If they're the same, doesn't matter. If not, they've got to go back the right way. The one on the other side's about 1/3 of the size of that. So it's pretty easy to get that right. We're just going to slide that belt out of there. Old one out. these belts are not directional. You can put them on either way, but with the numbers and the Harley Davidson emblem, I'm going to put it on so that you can read it while it's on there if you want to, so you can get the right numbers and all that sort of stuff off it. So we'll just slip that back in there, just give it a little twist. Being a brand new belt, they're quite stiff, especially when they've still got all their teeth compared to the one we just pulled out. I'm just going to get a paintbrush and take all those old, all the old belt out of there. There's a lot of melted rubber in there. So it's very important that you get the old melted rubber out of that drive gear there, gearbox drive gear. Because if you leave it in there and put your belt on, when you get it all nice and tight, you're going to get a false reading because there's still all the rubber in there. Then when it all wears away, the belt's going to be loose, you're going to snap another belt. Make sure it's all spotless. Oh, Gertie, it's okay. I'm sorry, that scared you, didn't it? I'm sorry. Come here, Dad. Come up here. Come on, up. So what I'm going to do, just to keep it located, while I get the other side right, is just dummy fit that, get the other side right, then swap the axle over because it comes through from the right to the left. So I'm just going to lubricate the caliper slides with a little bit of anti-seize. It helps the caliper centralise. So you can see there, that's what the belt looks like with no teeth at all on it. He's ripped every single tooth off it. I've seen them with, 6 or 8 or 10 teeth increments missing. But this one, that's how hard he flicked the clutch at the lights. He's ripped every single tooth off. Dave, you should be proud of yourself, mate. Swing arm spacer, shoulder to the inside. I'm going to sit that back in there, just so it's all happy again. And then we're going to adjust the back wheel and make this belt tight, very tight. One washer, one nut, anything you do up with a rattle gun must be checked by hand every time. with spanners. Ratchet, breaker bar, get some leverage on it, anything that's super important, any nut or bolt, anything. Don't ever use a rattle gun on anything small. It's a no-no. Just use ratchets or the right spanner. Bigger stuff that you use rattle guns on, breaker bars for leverage, and then maybe a ratchet. Always double check them once you're finished. So we just do the rear shaft up a little bit until it just contacts. While it's still loose, then you do your adjustments. When you're happy with all that, you lock this up and put the clip back on. So as it's turned out, the belt that we got for free off a mate, off his breakout that went chain and sprockets, it turns out that the breakout belt is about 1 centimetre longer. We have two choices. One is get the right belt, or the other one is we give Dave a little bit of a bigger sprocket on the back, which will give him heaps more power. So he'll be racing through the gears and changing gears quicker. He'll get to top speed quicker, and I believe he'll be impressed. I'll get one of them somewhere for him tomorrow, and the operation still exists for free. So you can see there the axle is right back. The axle's all the way back, and there's still a bit of play in the belt. So it only needs to go back about 5 mil. So if we can get 3, 4, 5 more teeth on the back, it'll make that whole sprocket assembly or the belt drive hub, whatever they're called, it'll make it a little bit bigger in diameter, which will bring the wheel back in, and I'll be able to adjust it so the belt works. And happy days, it'll all work. So that puts a bit of a dampener on getting it finished tonight. It just means, like, the belt's back on there obviously, and it's a matter of just bolting everything back on, which takes probably 1 hour at the most. Chuck a bit of oil and it's finished. So I've been into it for 2 hours, so it might have wrapped up at 3 hours, but I'll add the time up at the end, and we'll get that wheel sorted tomorrow, the drive, and young Dave won't know himself. There she is. We've just ripped the back wheel out of it. Looks like the belt's going to work. On the front, you can see how wide it is, and the belt can sit wherever it wants, and it can be a lot wider. So it's just a matter of getting the right rear drive here to the inner ring fell off this one. So it was due for, if that had to come off while he was riding it, that would have scratched the hell out of the rim. Luckily, it's just happened while I've been working on it. But, you know, I don't know if the extra heat or whatever made it fall off. I don't know. But we're going to get him a slightly bigger one of them tomorrow, so he's got a lot more low-end range power. It's all about the power. Yeah, so today's another day. We're into it again today. I just rang Gunner from Geelong Harley, and mate, that guy's advice is so important. He's been doing this for 500 years. He's that clever on it all. He's been doing it his whole life, so I'm definitely not going to go against the grain there. He tells me do not run any other belt than the right one. Make sure the part number's identical, because the pitch of the teeth can be further or closer apart depending on the make and the model of the bike. And the width is another issue. This particular belt is 1 millimetre bigger than the one that come off it. It's just a fraction bigger. So therefore, after getting the advice from the top dog, I am not doing it the way that I've already spoken about. That belt's coming off. I'm going to put the exact belt back on it. And you can see here the inner ring. That inner ring has fallen off. So that's how hot it got the other day. And thanks to Gunner, he just told me that what happens is these are all aluminium, and then they put a hardener on where the teeth run, where the tooths of the belt run. He said once that hardener there starts to wear, which you can see this one, it's hit and miss. It's not smooth. Look at that gap there on the left. There's bits and pieces of it missing everywhere. So other than the belt being loose, what's happened, I have reverse engineered exactly what's happened now after talking to our friend Gunner. The amount of melted belt that was in there that you would have just seen in the video, that belt was already red hot before Dave threw the clutch and ripped all the teeth off. If he had just thrown the clutch from a loose belt, the teeth would have come off, but there wouldn't have been all that melted material all inside that hub area that you've just seen in the video. So the belt was red hot due to that hardener being missing. And Gunner said it's just an accident waiting to happen. So the advice is check your bikes. If your bikes have got, north of 15,000 Ks on them, get a look at that hub, the rear drive pulley, get a good look at that. Make sure your belt's super tight, and then it is reliable. Otherwise, on the bigger rides, you're going to get stuck. This is going to happen again. So now I know about it. All the boys that I ride with, if you don't do it yourself, I'm going to check it for you. So, so that's the story behind that. It was already very hot and melting before he threw the clutch. How about that? Due to something so simple. I'm not sure how many Ks this bike's got on it. It's locked and I'm not looking right now, but it'll be in the film before it's over. So it's time. I'm going to go and test our network out again this morning. There's 3 guys I'm going to go and visit, and hopefully come back with the right belt and the right pulley, and with a bit of luck, just get it back together. Rear pulley. She's all underway. Wow, Chris Kelly to the rescue. This is like a $700 item. Our old one's buggered. And Chris has just chopped us out with a near new rear pulley for Dave's bike. What a champion. All he wants is a slab.
G'day, mate.
How are you, buddy?
Good, legend.
Hey, Curdy. Looks like Jason Kelly's just rolled up to throw his eye over a few things. How are you, buddy?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, while we're here, when you have a problem with your bike, I'll just sit that up there. When you have a problem with your bike, if anything goes wrong with it, you must have a look at what the cause was. If you have a problem, no matter what it is, you must reverse engineer what's gone wrong and fix that issue as well as the problem that's caused you. So I'm going to show you how I've reverse engineered what's happened to Dave's bike so it never happens again. All right, so this rear gear, this whole problem has been caused by this rear pulley. So the old rear pulley has lost all its hardener on here. It's done a lot of kilometers, loose belt, and heats up, expansion, contraction, all that sort of stuff. So this is the pulley that's come off it, and I've showed you a bit earlier how all the hardener's coming off. So what happens to the teeth? This is the new belt that's the wrong one. Those teeth flex back and forth. Even in here, the air that runs in and out through there because of the divots in there causes the belt to get very hot. And then when you fan the clutch, it strips the teeth off. So this is the reason why this is full aluminium. And then at the end, they put these steel rings on the end. The reason why that's come off is because the amount of temperature involved there, and that steel ring has heated up. The ID, the inside diameter of that steel ring is heated up, and it's gotten too big. It's grown too big here, and it's come off. So when I've pulled it down, it's all loose. It's just fallen off. So that is what it is. So that's what's happened there. And thankfully, we've just been shopping in a mate's workshop. Chris Kelly down there in North Geelong does all sorts of automotive repairs. Absolute gentleman. Didn't hesitate to help me out in a split second. So there's our near new rear pulley for Dave. That's close to a $700 item there. And yeah, it's done some work, but it's still in very good condition in relation to that one. So that's what's happened there. You must reverse engineer what it is that's caused the problem. Otherwise, you're going to put it back together. It's only a matter of time. It's like a time bomb. It's just going to happen again and again. So it's like anything else that goes wrong. You've got to get to the root of the cause and fix that. So by tonight, I will have Dave another belt. I've been a couple of places this morning. They're $463 for a new belt, and we're going to get one today for free. So that's just how tight and brilliant our network is. We've got him the pulley, and the belt will be here by tonight. I've got two other blokes that I know have got second-hand belts, and I'm just waiting to hear back from him. One's at work, and he said he's got one at home. So with a bit of luck, between the two doctors here, he's a bloody genius too, this fella, Jason Kelly. Yeah. He's heavily related to Ned. And I'll tell you what, back in the day, if Ned didn't have his horse, he'd have a Harley. But anyway, that's who we are, and we're getting the job done, and this job's going to cost young Dave $0. So as you can see, we've got Mr. O'Brien over here.
They gave me a mania videos.
You're in it, son. You're in it. Look at him. Shakin' Stevens, we call him. We've got the oil there. The blood is where the drain plug is under there, 5/8. These things all run a dry sump, and that's the sump right there. So the new blood's about to go in her, and we're about to change the oil filter. So it's time to get this oil filter off. This is the tool. I think they're about $15 from Super Cheap Autos, and it's the same material that your seatbelts in your car's made out of. Just wraps around the oil filter with an extension bar and a ratchet, and you undo them. It's normal thread, and the one that you put back on, they do not need to be very tight. You just put them on until they contact, and then about half a turn's plenty.
It's tight.
It's very tight. It's too tight. It's anyway, shit happens. As long as it comes off clean and no damage, that's all that matters.
Is it coming?
Yep.
Oh, it is moving, yeah.
Oh, it has.
The more it moves, the looser it gets, it'll come off.
Oh, yeah.
There she goes. And that will leak oil out of here.
Yeah, only what's in the filter.
And it'll run out of here and out of here. So you've got to have something under here to catch your oil.
Yeah,
and always fill your filter halfway up before you put it back on. If you undo it very fast and stand it up, you catch most of the oil. So the oil's in the filter. You always get a little bit of oil and run it around that O-ring there on top. It just makes you get the correct feeling when you do it up. And the surface that it mounts to must be spotless. Then you won't have any trouble when you do it up with leaks or it coming loose or any other issues. The filter can do the job that it's designed to do. You get it on there nice and quick so that you don't spill any of the oil you just put in there. And it's got a little sticker on the end for this next service date. When I'm finished and it's all clean, I'll get the kilometres, write the next service on there, and I'll put that sticker on the bike somewhere where it's hidden, and I'll know when it's due for its next service. Right. So same deal, but with this leverage, you only just do it up just softly and not too hard until it just firms up. And that is enough. You do not over tighten them, because sometimes the O-ring inside can pop out of its little housing and you've got another problem. So you do not need to do these filters up too tight. Wipe all your fingerprints off. And at the end of this bike's getting a detail. So I'm just getting the oil residue off it. Happy days. Now it's time to empty the reservoir. I always put a rag in there or a syringe and suck the old fluid out. Fill it up with, make sure it's all clean and fill it up with brand new fluid. That lid's about to come off. Now we're down the back. We're going to sit them brake pads back in and chock them, and then release the bleeder screw as we press on the brake master cylinder pedal, the foot pedal. I'm going to take all the old fluid out, because what happens is through the flex hoses of any vehicle, condensation over time goes through the flex hoses, and a percentage of water, H2O, ends up in our fluid in our brakes, and it's the water content that rusts the inside of the bores. The bores are normally stainless steel or steel, and believe it or not, over time they rust or they get pits in it because of the water. So that's what makes them leak. If you replace the fluid once a year, roughly once a year, with some brand new .4 or .5 brake fluid, it's a higher boiling point. You should never have trouble with your brakes. It's just regular brake pad changes. So you're about to see, we're about to bleed the brakes, front and rear.
Yeah, he's half an hour though, not very long. Yeah, not for long though. I don't like hearing that. I was bugging, really bugging for a big day. Yeah, I talked to him just for 15 minutes or so and I left. No, I don't think so. Just Troy. Troy came along too. Yeah, Troy came. I think he mentioned you. Yeah, saying asked how you were and that. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going, mate. I think I've got to help Paul bleed the brakes. And I'll catch up with you soon, legend. See you, mate. See ya. See ya, Paul, he said.
See you, Kiwi.
See ya, mate. Bye. Bye. Yeah, sorry, mate.
You're right, bud.
How'd you go with that?
So when you bleed the brakes and you chock the pads, you always make sure the bleeder screw's at the top. If there's any air in it whatsoever, the air always drifts to the top and you get all the air out. Otherwise you end up with a spongy pedal or a spongy front brake lever. You must be air conscientious. So if you haven't got a syringe, and I can't find mine, just gently poke a rag in there, a clean rag, and it'll absorb all the fluid and get rid of the old fluid. We want 100% new fluid in this, in our brake master cylinders.
Can you pump it?
Again.
Oh, again.
Off. Again. Off. Again. Off. Again. You what?
Done this plenty of times.
Yeah, well, what are you giving up for?
I don't know.
You believe in yourself, you can do anything.
True though.
Got it?
Got it.
We're all the same. Some of us anyway.
I just know you can't do them up too much fluid in them, mate, because then it'll jam up.
Yep. Yep. Still got to pump the pads out when it goes back on, so I'm all over it, son. You with me? You know what I mean? When it's back on the disc,
Yep.
still got to pump it out, Jace. So.
Go for it.
So the screwdriver's going into the Phillips head screws. You don't have to hit them very hard. If you don't hit them at all and they're tight, you can strip the head of the screw and it just becomes more and more difficult to get them out. So by giving them a little tap without doing any other damage, it shocks and vibrates the inner thread and it's enough to jar it and they come undone fairly easy. Both of them just come out simple. No trouble, no stress. It's how we want it. I'll make sure I catch all this fluid so that we don't have any mess. Jace, pull the brake lever, mate. Off, on, off, on, off, on. What do they say, brother? Slowly but surely,
Wins a race.
the turtle always beats the hare.
We don't need to.
We'll make it tough so he can ride it however he wants.
Cleaned up, so a nice bike to ride, respectful bike to ride.
Yeah. So you can see young Dave's headlight there is all held on by tape. So I think we might give his headlight a little birthday as well. Get rid of the tape and find out what's wrong inside and fix it. Aha. I can see already the ring that holds it all on, that's got a little clip at the bottom that you put a screw in. It's missing. It's gone. That's the sort of thing that a bush mechanic does, and sometimes it saves you and it's all good. But when it's got HD written on it, fix it properly. And you love her and she'll love you back. It's that simple.
What can we do about that, Paul?
Get the right ring.
Where do we source that?
I'll put an ad on Ghost Riders.
Yeah.
And someone will have one.
Yeah.
Guys, this is just a really quick update on Dave's bike. All the brake fluid's been flushed. Front and rear, all done, all brand new brake fluid. So I've got him a new hub. He's got a new hub thanks to Mr. Chris Kelly. That there's actually a movie being made on this whole process. It might help someone down the track. It's all going on YouTube. So right at the moment, I need your help. So I'm waiting for the belt. I should have a belt by 6 o'clock tonight. But other than that, the belt that I had off Mark Burkett, off the breakout, didn't work out. I'm going the original belt. So this headlight, most of you will know when that headlight's back in there, there's a chrome ring that goes around there with a little screw in the bottom that you do up, and it clamps it like a bit like a hose clamp, and it finishes it off. It was all held on there with like 100-mile-an-hour gaffer tape. So if you know where there's one that we can get hold of in the next few hours, your mates or Wayne Gray or Ricky Gray, or any of these old schools, Terry Pyle, anyone that's had this old gear with that ring for that particular headlight. It's a genuine Harley Davidson headlight. I'm hoping to get one tonight. So see how you go putting your network together, guys, and see if you can chop me out with that chrome ring for Dave's headlight. Thank you. Get in here, Mitter. We've got a bike to fix. Quick. Well. Here we are, Uncle Ned, and yous know what I requested for there. This is how lucky some of us are. And Dave, rest at ease, mate. The network has come good again. Just letting yous know that we have found the chrome ring for this headlight and it's getting delivered. If you want to know who it was, wait for the movie to come out, because he'll be here shortly in 15 minutes. We're going to have a nice cold bottle of water. He might have a beer, and you might find out who it was that's come good. It's the second time this guy's come good for us. What do you got to say for yourself, Kelly?
Oh, nothing much.
Do you want me to speak for you?
Rightio.
Life's good. So I said in one of the other clips how good and solid our network is, and within half an hour of that ad that I put on our closed group chat, Ghost Riders, I said you'd have to wait for the movie to come out to find out who it was, and here he is. Young Jono. Hey?
And delivered.
And delivered.
And I got paid for it too, in my favourite currency.
He's rocked up on his motocross machine out there and he's delivered it. And now he's actually on the tools and we're cleaning up that front hub that drives the belt that's crook. It's a little bit, it's got all the old rubber melted in it. So we're going to give that a good clean up. And thank you very much for your services, Jono. You're a bloody gentleman, mate. The old Dremel kit to the rescue. One of those little brushes or...
One of those visors probably do it.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Give us a close look at that on the camera, John. So that little wire wheel, something like that with the old Dremel drill setup is going to take all the debris and mess off there. So that when this machine goes back together, this is perfect. The belt will be perfect. We've got our perfect rear pulley for from Chris Kelly, and this thing will be burning rubber in no time. Here comes the guy, the bloke that wheeler the dealer, the bloke that fucking wrecked it in the first place. The owner. How are you, Davo?
I'm wrapped, mate.
You going all right?
Yeah. Well,
You'll be burning rubber Friday. You'll be burning rubber Friday, mate.
What's going on?
not much. How's it going, man?
Good. You?
Yeah, good. Wow.
What a network we have, Jace.
Oh, yeah.
There's your belt, Davo. Have a look at that.
Yep.
And what gear did it come undone
Not
for
a
you?
turbo. I'd have to say after I hit second, it ripped around to 140 and I knew something was up, mate.
That's just how we roll, brother.
As soon as it's cold, boom.
Oh, right.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah, right.
And Robbie O'Reilly made it. Back to Ropewood.
Made it home.
Just.
He's a madman.
Dave, I've got a job for you. Hold that for Jono.
All right, mate.
Get in there.
It's actually doing quite well. I can feel the rubber slipping off.
Sometimes you got to compromise. Just give us a look at what you got there, Jono. Tell us how you're doing it.
It's a bit of what's a 308.
A bit of a 308
Bit of a
shell.
308, bit of a shape.
And the shape of it is, yep,
Almost
and it fits in perfect.
to get it in there to get that rubber
We'll
out.
get all that melted rubbish out and she'll be a screaming eagle overnight. If we don't get that rubbish out in between the teeth, the belt will probably break within a few hundred kilometres. The way it all bends and flexes, even the air going in and out, it heats the belt up and it'll all fail again. So it's getting done 100%. The boys are on the job. So the bullet shell got most of the debris out. Show us what you're doing now to fine tune it, Jono.
Scotch Brite.
Etch Bright, Scotch Bright, yeah. Straight out of the kitchen, in between the teeth. Give it a scratch. And what's it going to come up like?
Brand new.
Like a spanker. Good work, mate. Thanks for your help. Wow, I must admit, between 5'8" there, 5'8" personified there. Wow, I am one lucky person. It's feeding time at the zoo. So give it to me, Dave. Tell everybody, what speed does life begin at?
160, brothers.
Are you ready for a walk around the block, Curdy? Are you coming? Where's your lead? You got your harness on. You want to go for a walk around the block? It's his favourite part of the day, walking around the block. You love it, don't you, Mitta? You beautiful? Who's your best friend? Oh, you're so beautiful, mister. Are you going on the telly? Do you want to go on the telly, mister? Well, that was an absolutely delicious dinner that Margaret, my beautiful soulmate, made for me. I'm so appreciative of her. So we're back on the job. So there's the chrome ring that's on there that holds that glass part of the headlight in. It's on. But the bolt that goes through there to lock it all together, it didn't come with that. Bloody Jono. The bolt that goes through there, I had to come up with one. So it's just a matter of getting the length, put the nut on there and cut it off. So then when you take the nut off, it cuts a new thread. And then I'll put it on there with a little bit of Loctite and Bob's your uncle. So we've been through our box of tricks. You know, I've got about 15 boxes like this with all knickknacks, and you know, this is my workshop, guys. So knickknacks, compressor, you know, the reel, all the bench, the vise. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful things here. You know, I've got no secrets. I'm not afraid of showing the world what I have. There's not a person on this planet that can get in here. It is what it is, and I'm very grateful for it. Yeah, so we've got a bit of everything going on. I have several workshops that I can walk into and do whatever I want. I'm extremely lucky there. So we help people and we get jobs done, and we, you know, it's all about just helping other people and giving a bit back. It's that simple. So I'm going to cut this threaded section. I'm going to get that shroud finished. Clean all the glue off from the 100-mile-an-hour tape. You can see the glue and all that. It's everywhere. And we're going to give this old girl the birthday that she deserves. And she'll not only be race ready on Friday, she will be bulletproof after our network has done our thing to it. And young Dave can drive it and ride it however he wants. He can make it run however he likes. Flick the clutch, burn rubber, ride it how he wants if he does it safely, and considers other road users, and keeps the noise down around elderly, women, dogs and kids. I don't condone the noise around traffic lights where there's dogs and kids or pedestrians or whatever. It hurts their ears, it upsets their brainwaves, and sometimes scares the bejesus out of them. So that is what it is. It's you can see the jack there supporting the weight, holding the bike up to do what we've got to do there. Obviously the tie downs up there going to the roof, because I do trust this system, but I like to over engineer everything if there's no weight involved, that is. And you know, it's all about 100% safety and having a good time. See his little drumsticks? 2 little drumsticks. Have a go at it. Oh, wow. That is how the headlight is supposed to look. Like brand new. It's got the new trim on there, the new bolt underneath, all done. That's going nowhere. We got the glue off with Start You Bastard and a rag with a bit of petrol on it. So, you know, for the sake of 5 minutes, now he's got a headlight that looks classy. So you can see these forks, how the road grime off other vehicles make them go really dull and perished. They do not look good. They generally have that sort of shine about them. That's how they're meant to look, like that. Instead of that, you know, stones and debris off other bikes and cars over the years. This thing's done 47,000 kilometres, original engine, going strong. They're built, I'm not going to mention exactly how or who they're built by, but they're built by the best of the best, period. So yeah, so we're going to re-chrome his forks as well. So I'm just going to throw a little something else in the mix here. It's amazing when you get a network of brilliant minds together. So one of the guys that was here before, I'm not going to say names just at this point, no reason to, but we've decided that we are going to give back even more. As you all know, from now with these government incentives, you get 10 cents for one of them, and the plastic bottles, etc. So we have decided, I've actually given the guy the go-ahead to make up a plan, send it to me, I'll authorise it, and then it goes on our closed group chat so that everyone can get involved. Save your cans, save your bottles. One of us will come and pick them up once a month or whatever. We're going to raise a little bit more money for people that are trying to live the dream, that are not quite there or struggling financially. I mean, I can't just fix everybody's bike for free. It's not going to happen. There are people that it's going to continue with, and they will come into my world some way, shape or form, and there's a good chance I'll chop them out. But anyway, that's what happens when the boys get together. There's plenty of women involved in it too, believe me. They are all geniuses. They're magic. So that's what's come out of this little project. Another mission to save a few dollars for somebody that one day is going to need it. It's heavily related to pay it forward. Hey, you two, we're just out for our nightly walk. The gremlin's running amok. But hey guys, just a little bit of feedback about our mental health rides. The mental health ride that we done last Sunday has gone over 1,000 views in a week. So that's awesome, bit of feedback. And the mental health ride that the Ghost Rider's done a few weeks ago on Facebook has almost ticked over 2,000 views, heaps of comments and all positive feedback. It's really amazing. So those of you that are involved in it, especially the guys that are heavily involved in it, and anyone else that's thinking along those lines, I just wanted to say thank you. We are making a difference, and it's going to continue, and I appreciate every single one of you. Well, it's been a long, eventful, positive, directed day. It's the sun's almost down. It's been a great day, a very successful day, and so happy to be alive. Margs, you've had a good day?
Had a fantastic day.
Bloody oath, every day's fantastic, isn't it?
It is.
Absolutely awesome. We're just chilling out, having a rinse, and thinking about bed actually. It's been a long day.
Amen.
We were just talking about the amount of people that work for us. It's phenomenal. The network is as best as it can be. I'm super proud of it. Kurt was just licking me shoulder when, oh, here he goes. Kurt was just licking me shoulder, and he's just another one of the workers, and that's why we treat him like a king. He's one of the helpers. So young Jace has been on eBay last night, got himself some new pads, and he's also bought Dave some pads, because these pads are about 1.5 mil left in there. Not much at all. They're good for another few rides, but Jace, tell us what you bought young Dave.
Just some front brake pads, mate.
Chopped him out, make it safe.
Happy to help if I can.
You're a legend, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.
Talk about sexy. How sexy is that? Shit, he can eat, this bloke.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just going to mention in this video, the belt that I just picked up is from Stewie from Motion Motorcycles down there in North Geelong, just off Edel Street. This is not the first time Stewie's helped me out. He has helped me out many a times. And even just with his help, advice, looking for parts, even again, yesterday he spent 45 minutes looking for a belt for me and the rear hub. He thought he had one, but hey, thanks heaps to Stewie from Motion Motorcycles. He's a champion. All your old bikes, even right up to current stuff, whatever you need, he's normally got it. There she is. Just what the doctor ordered. Brand spanking new, ready to go. Time for the new belt to go on. And away we go. That looks pretty bloody good to me. Should be burning rubber in no time. Just giving all the bolts a really good wire buff, so we can get that rear pulley back together. Now the belt's on, the inner swing arm shaft with the spacer can now go back in, and I can tap that shaft through from the other side with a mallet. We don't want to damage or scar any of the metal. Done. You don't ever put your nuts straight onto the thread in the rattle gun and pull the trigger. You always start them by hand first, or you're going to come undone. Unless they're dead straight off the rattle gun, you're going to cross thread them, you're going to end up in die straights. Done. That's ready. I'll get the back wheel back in it. Get the axle back in it and finish the back end, and then we'll start on the cleaning process to put all that back together. So it's a bit tricky. It's got to go in on an angle, then like lopsided, then on an angle, get it in, and when the spacers are in the rear wheel, in the hub, then you can straighten it all up and put the axle in it. Voila, one belt fitted. Always use a mallet. I'm not going to put Loctite on that. It's already got a lock nut, and there's a little clip. There's a little clip here to prevent it coming off. So we'll put all that on. Got to use these bolts here to get the both sides exactly the same. Make sure the axle's 100% straight, so that the pulley's straight, so the belt all runs true with the front pulley. Otherwise it'll rub, the belt will heat up, same thing will happen, the belt will snap. It's got to be perfect for this to last a long, long time. You see, as I'm doing this one up, the belt will actually come down there and up. It's tightening. You can see it moving as I'm doing it. We'll just go and marry the other side up, and we'll bring it back together so it's 100% straight. Now we're getting close. I'm going to jack the bike up so the back wheel's right off the ground, so I can spin it and give it a good chance to centralise, so I can fine tune the axle, fine tune the straightness of the axle, and then lock it up and put the clip back in there so it can never come out. That'll be high enough. So we listen for anything rubbing, and we visualise everything that the belt's doing. Nothing rubbing. I know it's already true because I've counted the amount of turns, both the same amount of thread out on each sides. And if it was crooked at all, the belt would move on the front drum, and it's not. It's doing exactly what I want it to do. No rubbing. Happy days. This belt will probably, if we keep on top of the tightness on it, this belt will probably outlast the bike. The bike's done 47,000 Ks. There'll be something else major needing doing to it before long, and the belt will outlast that. You can hear, feel just how happy she is. No drag whatsoever. Oh, hello, darling. What are you doing out here in my workshop?
I'm just borrowing this.
Measuring. Hey, look out! Woo! See here, the belt, how much it moves. That is not tight enough. It's very stiff. It is not tight enough. So you get them to where they're tight, and then go an extra turn on that. That's if you drive them or ride them aggressively and make them work hard. If the belt's not tight, you're going to have issues and they're going to let you down. If you want to play up and throw the clutch and do your skids and whatever, they must be very tight. It's imperative. Or they're going to let you down. I'm happy with that. So now the wheel and all its bits and pieces are back together. We can sit the brake master cylinder back on, check that, and pump the pads out with the brake pedal up the front. A little bit of anti-seize on the slides. Make sure it all centralises perfect. So one of the pads on the other side, it's crucial that it sits in its little hub that it's meant to sit in. You can see it from the other side. I'm just going to double check it, then the bolts and slides are going back in. Now that axle's back in, the bracket under there for, I know it's a bit sunny, the bracket under there for the exhaust can be lifted up and the 2 bolts can go back in. And then I can do it up at the header, up in the cylinder head. I had to loosen them to get that main shaft out, the swing arm shaft. So all sorted. A little bit of magic Loctite for the exhaust and should be done. Righto, so the new seal's sitting in there, the one that goes right around, the O-ring, that's in. The seal that sits in that outer primary runs on this surface here. You've got to make sure that that's spotless. And then when you put it back together, just put a drop of oil on it. So the seals are in. I'm just about to put a little bit of silicone around that surface and the inner primary's going back on. So just by flipping that inner primary over, you can see the debris there of the old melted belt. So like I said, the only thing that makes them break is when they get hot or when it strips the teeth, other than abuse, is when that rear pulley, when the hardener's worn off the teeth and when the belt's too loose. They get very, very hot. And then when you flick the clutch, it's game over. Rips the teeth off or they snap. So you can see the new silicone there on the back. The new seal's on. And we're ready to sit her back together. There'll be a small amount of silicone going there for the O-ring that's on the starter motor. If you need to give them a really light tap, you do it somewhere where it's strong enough, and only do it lightly just to help it get onto the dowels. If it doesn't go on lightly, there's something wrong. You must take it off, recheck it. That's all home now, ready for bolts. Bit of Loctite on each bolt, they're all very clean. Bit of Loctite and all 7 can go back on. The way I do this is I put a little drop of Loctite on the end with just a little smear of silicone up this end, so that as it does up, this here will seal this end. Even though it's got an O-ring in the bolt, genuine Harley Davidson, very clever idea, it'll seal. The silicone will seal it and the thread lock will stop it from ever coming loose. It's just, it's a clever way of doing it. Do them all the same. We just get this one started, then we've got to line the whole compensator front gear up and then slide it all on together. I guess even while you're doing this sort of work, you always need to run your eyes over even though my bench is a little bit not quite tidy, I do it that way because I find the brain tease a bit of a rush. Getting it back together and getting it right, I find that a bit of a rush. It is what it is, but it's a good idea to run your eye over everything that's there and have a home for it in your head when you see it, and know that you've left nothing out. There's nothing worse than putting something back together when you've used a bit of silicone and a lot of care in what you're doing, and find that you've left something out. There's nothing worse. But always triple check your work, make sure it's perfect. So that compensator can actually sit in there in about 4 different locations, and only one of them's right. It's got, the way it works is when it locks in conjunction with the spline that's in there, you can put it back together wrong, and then the chain will sit out further. So make sure the chain's in alignment, go down the back of the bike and align it all. When I put it back together and had the torch in there, I made sure it went in exactly how it had to. It won't work otherwise, so just double check that that chain's right, dead straight from down the back, and you can actually see the evidence in that spline of where it used to sit. So now I'm happy, it's perfect. Put the breaker bar on that once it's all back together and linked in. I know it's very glary with the sun coming in there. This one here, a lot of people make the mistake when they're just trying to have a go themselves. This nut here is left-hand thread. If you don't get it right, you can break the head of it off and you're left with that bit in there, and because it's all internal, it's almost impossible to get it out, turns it into a massive job. Left-hand thread, if you've got a Harley or whatever, make note of it. Make note, left-hand thread, normal thread. It can bring you undone. Same deal, drop a Loctite, away you go. I've got the gun in reverse to normal. So I'll try and do, this is the slack adjuster and the chain guide, etc. So you can see, I'll try and do it so you can see it. You can see the shape of this thing here, which is in like a wedge triangle shape. So you bring that back and shut it down. Get that wedge right down, like so. Then when you put those bolts in and let it go, it'll automatically take the tension out of the chain, and it's got a nice guide to run over, because all the power runs through the top. This here is just a guide back to go through the power chain again. So we lift the chain up, get it where we think it's happy. Get the first bolt in, and I'm pinching this together so it won't release, because as soon as I take it out and take my hand away, the spring-loaded wedge will release, and we don't want that yet. Gun's ready. Check the tension. So the main shaft that goes over that operates the clutch mechanism, that's in. The next piece which marries up to it, you can see exactly how it sits in there. I will have to adjust this clutch. You can see the little cutouts there where it goes in. That'll just sit in there. Little circlip goes in there. There's actually a round side to these circlips and a flat side. The rounder side goes into the face. It's just how it is. Well, I'm hot, I'm red hot. So you'll see here what the clutch does when you compress the clutch. You'll see all the plates moving. That's what happened when Dave let the clutch go. It all went south. For the clutch adjustment, you do the centre pin up until it contacts, back it off half a turn, feel your clutch, lock the lock nut up, done. So you can see the top of the gear on the starter motor there. The starter motor is obviously at the other side. So there's 2 bolts to go in there. I did not have to disconnect the battery. It all sits exactly where I wanted it. So 2 bolts in the starter motor from the other side. I can hear you, mister. Where are you? Oh, you're just there watching everything, you good spunk. Beautiful. New gasket. Sit him straight on the dowels. Make sure the holes are definitely lined up because some of the gaskets are very similar but don't line up. So that one there looks right. Looks good to me. Righto, so I've double and triple checked everything. I know it's perfect. Starter motor's in, bolts are in, everything's tight, Loctited. I've been over and over, I'm happy. Once you got your primary spotless, the front surface of it, straight on. Just going to sit that one in there to start with as a guide, and that one, and then I'm going to Loctite them all in with a little bit of silicone up near the head, and one drop is normally enough for this application. Straight in, and we'll do him up. You get them all up, done up firm, and then you go around and put the right tension on them, and they're happy. And then let it set, let the silicone and whatever go off, and then she's race ready. The right little Torx bit there, and spin them in. And tomorrow, if any silicone spews out, always the next or few hours later once it's dry, and then it won't get in the pores of the metal. If it gets in the pores of the metal, it stays there. But tomorrow when it's all dry, I'll just be able to peel that, peel the skin off. Just to make it look pretty. You can see the O-ring in there for the seal. So where the ring gear runs on the clutch, you want about 5 mil to 10 mil up on the ring gear, just so it makes a big splash and lubricates the chain. You don't want much oil at all on your clutch. Wow, that's it. That is enough. It's up to about there. And the ring gear is a little bit lower than that. So that there, I'd say, is pretty much the perfect amount already. I can see it right down in the bottom, and the ring gear will hit that no problem and do its job for the chain. I guess what you call these is offerings to the gods. World's fastest Indian. Don't know if you've seen it. So now she's all fitted with new bits. She's ready to go. Just got to give her a wash. But there's the offerings to the gods. There's that pulley that caused the whole problem. Anyway, she's race ready for Dave now. That's all that matters. Well, she's back. The only thing I had to fine tune when I got home was I just gave it a little bit more travel in the clutch. About 2 threads. So, you know, 2 threads down there on the adjustment buys you about 4 mil up on the lever. It amplifies it by double. But it's all finished. I'm very happy with it. I've just road tested it, as you've just seen, and she's come up a gem. So I started it after dinner. As you can see, it's still daylight. It's only just gone 8 o'clock. And like I said, I started after dinner. I think it was about 10 to 6 or something when I walked out here. So the whole primary job took me a bit over an hour and a half to put it all back together and move it, road test it, the whole lot. So the whole drive belt took me about 3.5 hours from start to finish. But there's been other jobs that we've done on it. You would have seen in the video. The brake fluid, the service, I've been right over the whole bike, and it's race ready. It's good to go. The headlights fixed. The grip that was really loose is tight. It's doing everything it's meant to do, and I couldn't be happier with it. It's ready to go on wherever Dave wants to take it. She's ready to go. So old mate's just come back in from camping and he agrees we've got to make sure she's race ready straight out the drive. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, let's go, give it a go.
That'll be Buffalo Avenue Raceway. So I'm thinking about applying for a permit to the government to change Buffalo Avenue to Buffalo Raceway.